My father just gave away my penthouse at my sister's wedding without asking me. 200 guests. Cameras flashing. My mother smiling. And me? Standing there holding a glass of champagne, while my entire family waited for me to nod and play along. But then a man I had never seen before stood up and said 7 words that made my father's face go white. Touch her assets again, and you will lose yours. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment and tell me where you are listening from right now. I need to know I am not alone in this. Stay with me. Because what my family did next is the reason their entire empire collapsed in 48 hours. I used to believe silence kept the peace. Smile at the right moments. Nod at the right times. Never let your voice shake. And maybe, just maybe, they would finally see me as one of their own. But here is what nobody tells you. Peace built on silence cracks fast. My parents loved appearances. My mother Carol believed perfection could be arranged like centerpieces. Trimmed, polished, shown off to the world. My father Richard lived for applause. And Charlotte? She was their masterpiece. The golden child who could do no wrong. Me? I was the line item they could not brag about, but could not afford to lose. If you have ever felt invisible in your own family, like you are useful but never celebrated, hit that like button right now. You will understand exactly what comes next. When people asked about my job, my mother would laugh lightly and say Isabella works somewhere in finance. She never mentioned I was Vice President of Asia Pacific Development. She never mentioned my signature could move millions. Because to her, success only counted if it came with a husband attached. Meanwhile, Charlotte did not need to earn her shine. She would call me her big sister in front of guests like it was an accessory. A prop to make her look humble. And I played along. 4 years. I funded the little things that kept our family image intact. Paid off a mortgage when my father's deal went sideways. Wired money to my mother for emergency bills. Transferred $50,000 to help cover Charlotte's wedding. They never asked twice. They just accepted like it was my duty. But here is where everything changes. The morning of the wedding I arrived at the hotel ballroom early. White lilies everywhere. Champagne chillers. Staff buzzing around. And then I noticed him. A man standing completely still. Charcoal gray suit. Silver-flecked tie. Watching. When his eyes met mine I froze. He gave a polite nod then said quietly, "Be careful what they announce today." Then he turned and disappeared into the crowd. Okay, pause. Who do you think this man is? Drop your theory in the comments before you keep listening. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. One text. They will take what is yours tonight. Do not lose it. My blood went cold. My penthouse. The one thing that was entirely mine. Every payment. Every sleepless night. Every deal that built it brick by brick. It could not be that. Could it? I heard my parents' voices through a half-open door. I should not have stopped. But I did. My father said, "During the toast we will make the announcement. It will make Charlotte's gift unforgettable." My mother laughed softly and said, "And Isabella will not dare refuse. Too many cameras. Too many witnesses. Pride can be useful." Charlotte sounded hesitant but pleased. "Are you sure she will be okay with it?" My mother's reply was syrup over poison. "She does not need that space. She has her work. You deserve a home." The blood drained from my face. They were not just proud of me. They were planning to take what I built and parade it as sisterly love. Now here is where most people would cry. Confront them. Cause a scene. Not me. For the first time in my life I was not going to react. I was going to remember. I went back to my suite. Opened the drawer with one folder. Documents. Statements. Payment records. Ownership proofs. 10 years of work compressed into ink and lines. I forwarded everything to my lawyer with one line. Be ready at 8 p.m. Ballroom A. Then I changed into a deep navy dress. Clean. Structured. Unshakable. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. Calm on the outside. A blade waiting to be drawn underneath. The ballroom filled with guests. Champagne clinked. Soft music played. I heard the whispers. Charlotte's wedding is perfect. Such a classy family. Isabella looks tense. They had no idea. Charlotte glided by in her gown, glowing under the lights. She touched my arm and said sweetly, "I am so glad you came." I almost smiled. Almost. Then my father grabbed the microphone. "Everyone please take your seats for the toast. This is it. The moment everything changes. Make sure you are subscribed because what happens next people could not believe was real." My father's voice boomed across the ballroom. A family's strength is measured not by what we keep but by what we share. My grip tightened around my wine glass, and tonight, we have something extraordinary to celebrate. He paused. Scanned the room. Maximum drama. My eldest daughter Isabella has decided to give her sister her penthouse as a wedding gift. The words hit like a grenade. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. Someone shouted, "That is incredible." 200 guests. All watching me. Waiting for me to smile. To play along. "Isabella, come join us up here, sweetheart. Say a few words." Every head turned toward me. I could feel the heat of their stares. I took a slow sip of wine. My father's grin faltered. "Come on, darling. Do not be shy." The music stopped, and then a chair scraped against marble. The man from that morning stood up. His voice carried through every corner of that glittering hall. "Touch her assets again, and you will lose yours." The entire room froze. My father's face drained of color. The man walked forward. Each step echoing like a gavel strike. "William Carter, CEO of Carter Financial." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers erupted. People shifted in their seats. "I believe you know my company. We have been working with your daughter for 3 years. That penthouse you are trying to claim is part of her legal compensation package. Protected by anti-coercion clauses under her executive contract." My mother's shaky breath was audible from across the room. William continued without hesitation. "What happened here tonight was a public attempt at asset seizure. And it is being live-streamed to over 10,000 viewers right now." A cousin had his phone propped up on the table. The red recording light glowing like an accusation. "Can you imagine? Your entire scheme broadcast to thousands. Keep listening. It gets worse for them." My father tried to recover. He laughed nervously and said, "This is a misunderstanding. A family joke perhaps taken too seriously." William's expression hardened. "A joke that included coercion, public humiliation, and false claims of property transfer." He turned to the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is what exploitation looks like when it is dressed up as family love." Then the dominoes started falling. Mr. Patterson, my father's business partner, stood up. His face was pale. "Richard, I invested in your company because I believed in your ethics. After this, Patterson Industries is suspending all collaboration effective immediately." Mrs. Williams from Logistics spoke next. "Same here. We do not work with abusers," David Kim, my father's oldest associate, added quietly but firmly. "Neither do we." My father's hand gripped the microphone stand like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Charlotte was crying now. Soft confused sobs that did not quite reach her eyes. "Dad, make it stop," she whispered. But it was already too late. The house of cards had collapsed. I stood slowly. The noise around me dissolved into a low hum. "You wanted a spectacle," I said. My voice was steady. "You got one." My mother turned toward me. Her expression was cracking. "Isabella, please," she hissed. "You are humiliating us." I took a step closer. My heels sharp against the marble floor. "No, Mother. You did that yourself." William handed her the microphone. "Perhaps Mrs. Hayes would like to explain her behavior for the record," he said evenly. She shook her head, trembling. "You cannot do this," she whispered. I looked her dead in the eyes. "I already did." The crowd erupted again. Some gasped. Others murmured approval. Phones were raised everywhere, recording every second of my family's unraveling. My father's voice cracked through the chaos. "Enough. This is our private matter." I met his eyes without flinching. "You made it public." The silence that followed was colder than any scream. I did not need to say more. William placed a gentle hand on my shoulder, guiding me toward the exit. Behind us, my mother's sobs rose. My father shouted something I did not care to hear. And Charlotte's wedding day turned into a live broadcast of consequence. As the ballroom doors closed behind me, I heard the last sound. A single glass shattering on the floor. Outside, the night air hit my skin like truth. I looked up at the city skyline. The reflection of my penthouse glittered in the distance. For the first time, I felt its walls were not cages. They were armor. William stopped beside me. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly. I exhaled slowly. "I am now." He nodded. "You handled that better than most would." I looked back at the glowing doors of the ballroom. "No," I said softly. "I just finally stopped apologizing." We stood there for a moment. Two strangers bound by justice. Then he offered his card again. "When you are ready," he said, "I would like to discuss something bigger." I did not ask what. I already knew this was not the end of my story. It was the beginning of theirs. By the next morning, the clip had gone viral. 1 minute of footage. My father's announcement. William's voice cutting through the chaos. It circulated across every platform before sunrise. Headlines called it the wedding scandal that shattered a family. My inbox overflowed with messages from strangers thanking me for standing up. From women who had been told for years to keep peace at their own expense. Meanwhile, the fallout for my parents was swift and brutal. Patterson, Williams, and Kim all withdrew their contracts. The company's stock dropped by half in 48 hours. My father's apology video was dismissed as damage control. My mother went online claiming she had been manipulated, only to be drowned by thousands of comments calling her out for the behavior everyone had seen in crystal clarity. Charlotte's perfect marriage unraveled before it began. Her husband's family backed out, unwilling to attach their name to the wreckage. I stayed silent through it all. I did not need to defend myself. The truth had already done that for me. When William called to offer me a seat on Carter Financial's board, I said yes. Not for revenge, but for direction. Because for the first time, I was no longer surviving my family. I was rebuilding myself. Weeks later, I stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse. The city lights flickered like quiet applause. The same glass walls they tried to take from me now reflected everything I had earned. Freedom. Clarity. Peace. On the shelf beside me sat a framed photo of my grandmother. Her handwritten note beneath it. "Do not let them take your light." I smiled. They had not. They never would. If you have ever had to stand alone at a table full of people who called themselves family, know this. You are not alone. Share your story in the comments below. Tell me what happened to you. And if this hit different, subscribe right.